Hello and welcome. It is a beautiful day here in Northern Nevada, so I hope you guys are experiencing some great weather. Sorry, I am definitely washed out in my lighting today, so I am sorry for that. I do apologize. I've got this amazing window in front of my desk, but it does make lighting difficult sometimes. So I'm going to just adjust things a little bit so that it's not so bad, but I hope everybody's having a gorgeous Monday morning. It is absolutely beautiful out. For those of you who are new to me, my name is Evelyn Knight. I am the childcare business coach and the owner of Childcare Business Professionals. So I am not going to waste your time with all of that today. And I'm sorry, I'm moving my notes around, finding a good spot for them. But I am just going to get right to it and just jump right in. Welcome and to my childcare business bootcamp. It's the childcare business success bootcamp. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. Give me a hashtag replay. I love interaction, you guys. It's great for me to see the interaction with you guys, whether you're watching on YouTube, wherever you're watching from, and give StreamYard permission so I can see who you are. I see someone from Georgia saying good morning. StreamYard isn't telling me who you are, but I do see that you're there. And feel free to ask questions. I don't mind stopping and addressing your questions as we go. That is no problem. I really do like the interaction. I do think it is helpful for us to interact. So that's why I love doing live trainings, because then we can actually really interact with each other. So go ahead and ask questions. Speaking of live trainings, you guys, I am hosting a conference in October. So I will give you guys more information. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited to have a conference where I can bring you guys in. You can meet me live. I can meet you guys and we can just work together. So I will talk more about that in a little bit. But today, I really want to focus on those foundational pieces that will help to make your childcare center successful. And that is what we're really looking at during our, oh, hi, Shylin. That was you who said good morning. So, oh, well, it's afternoon for you, morning for me. But yeah, I'm really going to focus on what are those foundational pieces that every childcare center needs, right? In order for us to be successful. All of us need the same foundational pieces. When I sat down and started my company, Childcare Business Professionals, I really looked at what are the pillars that keep my center going. What are those pillars to success that I've come up with? Just the 5 most basic things that you can put into play in your childcare center in order to make sure that you stay successful. So I had to ask myself, what does it mean to have a successful childcare center, right? What does a successful center look like? And I came up with a few different things. Enrollment. We absolutely have to have enrollment, right? In order to have our center flowing, we have to have the children. In order to pay the bills, in order to just be successful, we've got to have the enrollment. So I looked at, okay, so what do we need for good enrollment? Then I thought about staffing. You can't have the enrollment without staffing. Let's see. Kimberly says, where is the link to give StreamYard our permission? The link should be in the comments. It should be like one of the first comments or in the description. And Kimberly, I can actually see you. So it looks like you already have, it looks like StreamYard already has your permission. And Kimberly's coming to us from YouTube, it looks like. So those of you on Facebook probably can't see her comment. But again, just those pillars for like enrollment, right? Enrollment. So in order to have high enrollment, you also have to have the staff, because we can't enroll the children if we don't have the staff to meet the ratios to care for the children, right? So that was the other thing I was thinking, like that's another really key component to a good center, right? And you have to have that financials coming in. No matter what, you could fill the center, but if you're not charging enough, if you're not charging at all, even I've seen centers that they give away so much for free and so many spots and so many different things that it's still not successful. So you have to have the enrollment, you have to have the staff, you have to have your financials coming in. You've got to have the money coming in, right? And I mean, I know a lot of times in this industry, we don't like to talk about money. We have a horrible money mindset, but it is what keeps us going. And just really quick, I'm going to just say one thing about money mindset. And I've done entire videos and podcast episodes on this, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But in this industry, we oftentimes look at owners and that are making money, or who, and you look at an owner as greedy. But I have to say, a director is going to make money, right? And that's okay. Teachers expect a paycheck, and that's okay. Owners need to make money too. That is their income. And I want you guys, like in life in general, really think about, how do you see money? What is your relationship like with money? Okay. And I want you to really analyze, do you really think that money causes people to be something they're not, right? A lot of people say that money changes a person, right? That, well, once they came into money, they changed, they became. That is not true. That is not true. What money does is it reveals a person's true character. It's not the money that is innately bad. It is what they are in their heart. So for those of you who are so afraid of making that extra money or charging or whatever, it's what you do with the money. It's your relationship with the money. How are you going to use the money, right? Money isn't the bad thing. And actually, we can make money something wonderful. We can give back so much. Like through my center, I give back so much. And it's the reason, money is what allows me to give back and fulfill my mission in life, right? And I will tell you guys what my mission is in a little bit. But so really look at your money mindset, because if you're afraid to chase the money, if you're afraid to charge what you're worth, and if you have this relationship where you feel bad to be making money, that probably means that your relationship and your money mindset is not good. And by the way, you guys, I have to comment, I am also a certified life coach. So sometimes when I'm training you guys, I am going to put that life coach stuff in there. And I do have degrees in psychology and a bunch of other things, including my early childhood education degree. So a lot of times I am going to mix psychology in what I teach you, because one thing I've learned about being successful in business is I can give you all the principles, but if your mind isn't in the right place, and if your psychology isn't where it needs to be, you're not going to implement what I teach you. So I know as I teach this to you, I got to really get you to look at your relationship with, how do you see money? How do you see your staff? How do you see, so I kind of work with that psychology piece also. Let's see, I take 25% of my gross revenue in the hopes that the other 75 is helping grow the business. Yes. Growing revenue, growing my own draw. Yes. And reinvesting. Absolutely. With childcare business professionals, since it's a pretty new business, I actually reinvest over 50% is just reinvested to grow the business. So really look at, how do you see money? And remember, money by itself, if I take a $100 bill and put it on the table, the $100 bill is not going to do anything. It's what I do with it, right? It's what I choose to do. And the money I make is going to show my true character. It's not going to change who I am. It's just going to bring out who I really am, right? So don't be afraid of money. Don't be afraid of it. And don't be afraid to ask for your money, because it does take that. But that's not one of my pillars. It's just important for you guys to understand the pillars, which is why I went into this today. So again, the last key component to making sure your child care center is successful is bringing quality, right? Why are we caring for children if we're not going to bring what's best? And I can tell you guys right now, if you're somebody who believes in packing your child care center, who just believes in bringing in, just more kids. And if you are just focused on profits, okay? So this is where money does become a negative, right? If you're just focused on, I want to be a millionaire, being a child care center owner is going to make me a millionaire. Now, let me qualify. There's nothing wrong with you becoming a millionaire. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you put that above quality, if you're putting the money over what is best for the children and you're not putting them first, then I am not the coach for you. I'll tell you right now, I am not the coach for you, because my philosophy, the children come first. They are number one. for me. And everything I do, this entire company, my podcast, everything I do is because my mission in life, my vision for my life is to ensure that all children have the opportunity to attend high quality research-based childcare programs, regardless of their socioeconomic status. So at the foundation of everything I do, it's to make sure that children are getting the best, and everything else comes second. So I'm definitely not the coach for you if you're not willing to put the children first. I'll tell you that right now. But so there are coaches out there who will teach you how to get rich. And I'm going to teach you how to put the children first and make a good living, right? You can have that balance. You can absolutely still make a very good living and prioritize the children. And we'll get way more into that later in this week. I think Friday, I'm going to get really deep into how quality actually makes you more profitable, right? A lot of times when you put the children first, suddenly you're going to become more profitable. So again, just to recap, enrollment and employees, financials, and quality. Those are really the key pieces that will make you successful, right? And so as I was going through this, I thought to myself, so how is it? What are the main things that helped me to get to this point where I do have the enrollment? I do have the great staff. And by the way, I have the enrollment with the retention. Retention is huge, right? That's a huge piece. My employee and the staff retention, the enrollment retention, very big, very important, right? And I have all of that, right? And then the financials, my financials are very well in line. Things are good. During COVID, I did really well. I was ready, I should say. I mean, none of us did really well. I went from 115 to 27 children overnight, but I had things in place to make me okay, right? And then the last are the quality. So as I went through this, I came up with 5 pillars. The 5 pillars that I've put into my childcare business throughout my centers in order to get to this place, right? And with these 5 pillars, and I'm sorry, you guys, if you can hear my dogs barking, they're right outside my door. But when I came to this place with my 5 pillars, I used to basically I had bought the last center I bought it, built it up, and resold it, right? And I just decided at one point, I really don't like buying centers anymore. And actually, my last 2 centers, I basically bought and just built them up from owners who didn't know what they were doing, basically, and they were going bankrupt. So I didn't like that business model. I didn't like going in, buying a center from somebody going bankrupt, and then fixing it. I wanted to find a way to help owners so that instead of losing your center, I could teach you what I know and you can save your center, right? I would much rather help an owner save their dream than come in, take it over, and sell it later for a profit. So that's why I do what I'm doing now. That's why I give back so much. It's the second reason why, after making sure all children get that high quality. So let me give you a quick bird's eye view of my 5 pillars. Every day this week, I'm going to be teaching on a different pillar. So literally every day is a pillar that I use in my childcare center in order for my center to be successful. So the first pillar, and you guys, this is me on I'm beating that dead horse. You will hear me say this over and over and over. Vision. You have to have a clear vision. You've got to know where you're going. And today we're going to really talk about vision. I will help you to start constructing your vision. And then there's a lot of free resources I have already created on vision. So I'm going to link in I'm actually going to start a units tab for this training. And in the unit, I will link other things you can look into for vision, because it is the absolute most important foundational piece. And so it really is what keeps you going, right? It is your roadmap. Think about taking a trip. When you're thinking about vision, I want you to think when you're planning a trip, one of the first things we do is find our destination, right? This is where I'm going. And then you plan everything around that destination. Your vision is going to be that destination, right? So if you don't know where you're going, you're just driving aimlessly. You're just wandering, basically, right? And you have no idea where you're going to end up. So imagine going on a family vacation and just getting in your car and driving, and you end up in the middle of the desert, right? Here in Nevada, we have like and when you're driving, you can end up in the middle of nowhere desert where there is nothing for miles and it's 120 degrees. And that is what you could end up with without a destination in mind. Your vision is going to give you that destination, and it's going to help you to create that roadmap to get where you want to go. So when you get that, you'll see, then you're going to know. And I'm going to help you in a little bit on how to really create a vision. The next thing is your center's culture. Your center's culture and the culture you create is so very important. And so many centers I see, they're not creating any type of culture, but I can guarantee you there is a culture in your program. And unfortunately, what I see more often than not is when you don't intentionally create your culture, your staff is creating your culture. And it's really chaotic because you don't have any harmony. That's where I see a lot of the gossip issues. That's where I see a lot of times, to be honest with you guys, the staff is running the centers. The centers that don't have culture, that's a lot of times where I see directors and owners who have no control. Their staff is running them, just running all over them. So they're not, you've got staffs that are calling in nonstop. You have staff that basically tell you what they're going to work. They aren't turning in curriculum. There's a lot of just that kind of thing because they basically run the center. You have no control. So that's where culture is also going to reflect your brand. So what the people in the world are talking about your center and how they view you, it all comes from your culture. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about culture, and I will show you how you can intentionally create the culture within your center. So I want you to really think about being intentional about that, right? So that what you're putting out into the world is under your control. So then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about our dream team. And I know so many of you, one of the first things I hear from owners is, well, Evelyn, I can't have a dream team. You don't understand. I can't afford to pay enough. The people that apply for my job, it's just not a dream team. And I can tell you right now, I used to be the owner that used to think that. And I've learned now that that isn't true. You can have a dream team. And I'm going to show you how. And I'll tell you how I developed my dream team from the team that I had. And I will tell you, it's interesting because, and I'll go more in depth on Wednesday about this, but I once thought the same thing. I remember walking in to my center one day and thinking, they just all need to go. I need to fire everybody. I just need to start over. This staff is awful. I need to start over completely. And then I had an epiphany moment, which I'll go over with you guys on Wednesday. And it was actually during a staff meeting of all things where I had to look within myself. And this has kind of happened to me a couple times, but I had to look within myself and I realized it's not my staff. It was me as a leader. I was not effectively leading my staff. So that was about 5 to 7 years ago, probably about 7 years ago when that happened. And now I can tell you about 50% of my staff are the same people. It's not that different. It's about the same people, right? And now I have this stellar, amazing dream team that works for me. So how is it that the same people, I would once walk into my building and think to myself, they've all got to go. They're horrible. They're awful. And now today I walk in and I know I have this dream team. That was me as a leader. That wasn't them. So we'll talk Wednesday about the leadership qualities that you can have to help your staff become the dream team. So I'm going to teach you how do you create the dream team within your center with what you already have. Because I know you guys, trust me, I am an owner. I've been a director. I've done every job in a childcare center. I know what it feels like to walk in and think they're hopeless. They call in like crazy. There's no calls, no shows. They're not turning in curriculum. They're not nurturing the children the way I want. There's no supervision. Look at the behavior problems we're having. They just don't know how to control the kids. They don't know this. They don't know, the way they talk to the parents. is awful. I've been through all of that. I have literally I have walked in my center and fired people on the spot because I was so angry. Like, just their lack of care and concern for my center just would make me almost feel sick, just that feeling of like, you just don't care. So, but when I had this paradigm shift, it's crazy how everything changed. And I had to admit to myself that it's me, it wasn't them. It was me as a leader. And I needed to learn how to become a leader. I needed to stop managing and I needed to become a leader. So Wednesday, we'll talk more about that. Next is your business structure. And I can tell you, I was that owner once again. Also, I had no business structure. And what I find in this field is that we are or before we become owners and even directors, we're teachers, we're moms. And most of the time, we're moms, right? Or we just have this absolute love for children and we want to make a difference. We want to do more. So we become directors, we become owners, and we have no experience in business. When we go to college for ECE, they don't teach us. I mean, you may take a couple business courses, right? You might take a few, like 2 or 3 credits, you might have 12 credits in business, but that is not going to teach you how to run a business. We know nothing about business. We go after our passion, but we know nothing about business. We think I'm great at my household finances. I've run my financials at home fantastically. So then we start running business finances, and they are so incredibly different. They are like night and day. There is nothing. They're not similar at all. And we're suddenly don't understand why we're always running out of money. We don't understand why it's so hard to make payroll. We don't understand why we can't manage people. We don't understand so much. So basically, we have no business structure, none whatsoever. And so what I have to say about business structure is most of you think you have an employee handbook, right? Or policies and procedures. You think you do, but you don't. What you have is just a basic employee handbook. So if you have a handbook that gives like time off, how do you take time off? How do you, what are your vacation days? What is your child care, policy for charges to childcare, for childcare, things like that. That's just an employee handbook. Those are not policies and procedures. Policies and procedures are something that come down to the absolute nitty gritty. How do you deal with it every single time a child bites? You should have something in writing. How do you deal with it every single time a parent gets irate? How do you deal with it every time a child has an accident? How do you deal with nap time every day? How do you deal with outside time? This should be written out, absolutely written out, and trained to your staff. Every single thing that happens in your center. That's what policies and procedures are. So we're going to go way into this. I'm going to teach you, like, how do you develop this? How do you even come up with this? How do you make it match your culture? How do you make it match your values? How do you make this match your vision? Everything I teach you guys is going to revolve around that vision. I can tell you right now, it's going to be at the center of everything. But coming up with a business structure, right? Most of us, I can tell you, we don't even know how to run a business. So we have no business structure. That's going to be Thursday. And then Friday, we're going to talk about quality. Quality and why is it so important and how do you get there, right? How do you get to the place of quality? And why is it? I can tell you as an owner, I was terrified of becoming a high quality research-based center. And I was so scared. It is expensive. You look at what is required of you, especially if you look at like the NEEYC requirements or if your local star rating, any kind of quality. It's just like, this is expensive. Payroll's going to go up. This is going to go up. That's going to, and you just look at like, it seems on paper so expensive. But I can tell you right now, when I finally took the dive and made the change, that is the key thing that changed me and made me profitable. It seems, I know it's crazy. It sounds crazy. And it seems like I can't afford to do this, but I can tell you right now, you can't afford not to do it. You can't afford not to become a high quality childcare program, right? And we'll talk way more about that on Friday. And just really on what does that mean? How did I make that transformation? What steps did I take? I'll go much more into depth with you guys on Friday about that. So make sure you're here every day, you guys. The interactions are very important in order for you guys to get the most out of this. You do want to show up every day. I also have a workbook for you guys that you can use along with this. I will start a thread in the Facebook group, or if you're on YouTube, drop your emails in the comments. Or if you'd rather us message you on Facebook, let us know. Just let me know how you want the workbooks to get to you. And I'll make sure Pam gets those to you later today so that you can do the workbook as you're doing this workshop. So again, we're going to be here every day at 9 a.m. to go through the workshop. And it is really important. The more you participate, the more you're going to get out of it. So, oh, thanks. I see those emails coming in. So, or addresses coming in. So yeah, keep them coming in and I'll have my assistant get that workbook to you later today. The workbook's really just going to help guide you. Like today on vision, it's going to just ask you some questions to help you start developing your vision. And then make sure you're checking out the units section of this workshop too, because I will be putting some homework up and also just giving you guys some more information, like the podcast episodes you can listen to on vision, just different resources that I have for each day. So today I'm going to get into vision. I'm going to give you guys a really quick bird's eye view because I do have a podcast episode where I go in some pretty good depth on vision. I'll link that for you guys so you can listen to that also. But I want to tell you guys, when I first came up with my vision, one of the exercises I did that is most helpful, and I do this throughout my life on everything, whenever I have a major life decision to make, this is what I do. I sit back and I imagine myself at 80 years old. And I just kind of imagine myself sitting on my porch, in my rocking chair and reminiscing over my life. And I ask myself, what legacy do I want to leave? When I'm sitting there on that porch at 80 years old and I'm looking back on my life, how can I look back at this decision with pride, right? How can I look back and just be happy that I made this decision and I didn't do this? So when I came up with my vision, I imagined myself at 80 on that rocking chair that I always see myself in, right? I'm going to have to end up getting a rocking chair because I always envision myself like this. And I imagine, what legacy do I want to leave for my life? So when I get to that point in my life, what do I want to look back on? And what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to know that I completed at that time, right? And that's how I came up with my vision statement, which is the one I shared with you guys earlier, that my goal in life is to basically make sure that all children, regardless of their socioeconomic status, have the access to high quality care and education before the age of 5. That is my goal. And that's where I realized that's the legacy I want to leave. And then I dug even deeper. I want to get to at least 10,000 childcare centers around the world, right? I want to get to at least 10,000 childcare centers. That way, if you think about it, if I can help 10,000 childcare centers and each one just has 10 employees, right? That's 100,000 employees. How many children are each of those employees helping, right? So soon, and then that's going to spread too. 10,000, they're going to spread their message. And soon I could reach up to 1 million children by just helping 10,000 childcare centers, because it's going to be contagious. And some of you are going to go out and teach what I've taught, right? And I actually hire some of you as coaches for me. So that's where I can just keep it growing and growing and growing. So if I personally touch 10,000 centers between now and my 80th birthday, then I could possibly touch 1 million children's lives. So then I had to kind of reverse engineer, right? So when I'm talking about vision becoming your roadmap, that was my destination. My destination was to help children, regardless of their income, regardless of where they live, to get to high quality. So then I had to think about, oh my gosh, how on earth? That's huge, right? How are you going to help all children around the world? How am I going to do that? So then I reverse engineered it. I thought to myself, okay, so now am I going to do that with my own childcare centers? I can't possibly own an, well, I probably could. I can never say that I can't possibly, because I know I can. I don't ever put limits on myself like that. But if I really want to be effective, I need to engage you guys. I need to engage you, the ECE community, and I need to bring you in, and we need to work together so that I can bring my mission to life, right? So now if I started a podcast, I can start a podcast. I can start a coaching company. I can go live on YouTube and Facebook every week. So all these things that I do, those are the things I came up with. I created my destination, and now I have this roadmap to get to my destination so that I can help 1 million children before I'm 80 years old, right? So I can just get out there. So when people ask me like, gosh, you give away so much for free. You do these free workshops, you have this free podcast, why do you do so much for free? It's like, that's why, because this is my life's vision. This is the vision for my life. So you want to break that down though, and make it your center's vision, right? What vision do you have for your childcare center? So when you're ready for retirement, how do you want to look back on your career as a childcare center director or owner? What do you want to know that you accomplished? That's going to be your foundation for your vision. That's where you're going to start creating this vision. I know some of you are exhausted. Being an early childhood education leader can be exhausting. We're dealing with the parents. We're dealing with staff. We're dealing with children with special needs. So many behavior issues nowadays. It has gotten really difficult. And then COVID hit, right? And that just made our lives and our jobs so much harder. So I know right now it might be really hard for you guys. For some of you out there, it is really hard to see what your vision is. Okay, so I want you to kind of step out of today and go back to that first time you started. Why did you want to become an owner? Why did you want to become a director? You guys could have chosen any career. So I know sometimes owners will say, well, I wanted to make the money, but that's not really true, right? Yes, you want to make money as an owner. That's why everybody becomes a business owner. But you could have chosen to open a dry cleaner, right? You could have chosen to open a flower shop. Why childcare? Why did you choose to dedicate your life to children? So I want you to really do some soul searching and go back to that. What is it that made you choose the children? Okay. And that is going to be where you're going to start with your vision. So that's going to be your second step. First, I want you to look at if you're having a hard time looking at your legacy, I want you to go back and ask yourself, why did I start this? Why did I choose children? Why did I choose a business? How did I get into the childcare industry? And why did I stay with it? Because even if I know a lot of us started when we were teenagers, right? We just started working with children, whether it was babysitting or working in a center. But why did you stick with it? A ton of people choose childcare when they're teens, but they leave. Why did you stick with it? So go back to the beginning if that overwhelm is hitting you. And speaking of overwhelm, I'm going to tell you guys why this is so important. Your vision is also what's going to get you through in life. Okay. And for those of you who've been following me for a while, and for my members that are on, you guys know I am going through one of the most difficult times of my life right now. Last night, I'll be honest with you guys, I had to wonder if I was going to have to cancel this week. And my husband is terminally ill, and we met with hospice on Thursday, and we have to make some extremely hard decisions right now. And so I'm dealing with just a husband who's about to enter into hospice care. And we're pretty much facing the end. So I really had to do some soul searching yesterday and wonder, am I going to do this tomorrow? Am I really going to keep this workshop up with what we're going through this week? What the decisions we have to make, the family members we have to talk to, and by the way, I've been with my husband for 29 years. So it's my entire life, is about to change. And I had to really wonder, can I do this? Can I really show up tomorrow and really be here for these people and give what I'm about to teach? And as I thought about it, I realized I have to. And I have to do this. And this is why I'm doing this, right? And it's my vision is what keeps me going. Right now, it would be very easy for me to quit. it would be very easy for me to step away from both my businesses. Nobody would even question it, right? Everybody would just kind of be like, oh, yeah, I get it. I get it. She's, she's losing her husband. I get that she can't be there right now. Sorry, guys. But I also realized that like my vision is so strong within me and it's so important to me that I know I have to do this. I can't stop. I have to keep going. At the same time, I know there is going to be a point where I do have to walk away, right? I do know that I'm going to have to take a few weeks off and let things happen, but like just that natural process in life. But I knew I had to do this workshop because it is my life's mission. It is what I wake up for. So that is why your vision is so important, you guys. It's what keeps you going when you're facing things like this in life. What I'm facing right now, when I'm facing, I honestly, I don't know what I wake up to every morning right now. But I remind myself, like, God put me here for a reason. And this is all God, you guys. It's not me. I can't take credit for any of it. I am a God girl. I give him all the credit. He put me on this planet to make sure that all children have this opportunity. And he told me that I've got to come and spread this word, right? So I know that when I show up here and I serve you guys and I spread my mission to you, I know that I am basically fulfilling my purpose. And it is what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's why I showed up today and I didn't cancel this workshop. My vision is so strong within me. It is so important and it is so strong. And I've got that destination so set in stone where I know what I have to do, that even when I'm facing the hardest things in my life, I still show up. I still do it. And I still do a good job at it because I know how important it is. So during COVID, we saw so many childcare centers shut down and didn't make it. It was hard. And I don't blame anybody for not moving on it was so hard. But those of us who didn't give up and who didn't stop fighting, right? Why did we not stop fighting? Why did we not give up? What keeps us going, right? And during times like this, my husband literally in 2020 had 3 strokes in January, 3 strokes in January of 2020. And my entire life changed very quickly. He became wheelchair bound and it just very fast all happened. By March, we were hitting the brunt of COVID. At that point, I could have walked away, right? I could have just been like, this is too much. But I didn't. Throughout COVID, throughout dealing with my husband's health issues, through my entire life changing, not only did COVID change my life, but I now am facing a terminally ill spouse. I kept going. And it's because of my vision. I knew like, this is work I have to do. It's what God intended for my life. And I got to keep going, right? It also is what brings me joy. And I know like that might sound like, oh my gosh, it just kind of sounds stressful, but it actually brings me joy when I see the children in my care. Like, I actually had a guest at my center last week, and I got to introduce her to this little girl who's 5 years old now. She started with us when she was 2 months old. And yes, my center, I'm licensed from birth because of what we do. She was in foster care. Her mother was homeless, and this child was living in a storage unit when she came to my center. She was failure to thrive, and the doctors just didn't know if she would grow, what was going to happen. She ended up, we helped coordinate like the adoption and for her new family. We were there through her mom who was homeless. We gave this child somewhere to go basically every opening hour we had. And then we stayed with her through the transition to her new family and whatnot. And I looked at this child and got to explain to this person who was touring my center that this is my mission. That child right there summarizes my purpose in life, because this was a baby who was homeless, living in a storage unit, right? Who was failure to thrive. And they didn't know if this child was going to survive. But because of the work we do at my childcare center, she had a place to go every day. not only that, but she was also adopted by a family who was having a hard time juggling work and childcare. So we were able to come in and help with that, right? And I look at that as we had a part in this child's survival. We had a part in the fact that now she has no deficits. This child who should be behind, who should have developmental delays, has no deficits, nothing at all. And you would, other than being small for her age, you would never know what that child has been through, what her first few months of life have been. And that is why I know I have to do this. I have to show up every day. That's what gets me up in the morning right now. And I know I've got to get to work. Believe me, there's a lot of days right now where I just want to just say, I can't do this anymore. I wake up every morning sometimes, and one of the first thoughts in my mind is, I can't do this today. But then I just pray that God, just remind me, why am I here? Why do you have me doing this? And I remember children like the one I just talked about. I remember what my purpose is. I remember why I'm here. And I can get up with a smile on my face. And that's another thing that people keep like, you keep smiling through. It's like, yes, because I know I'm going through a tough time of my life. But what I'm really doing, the difference I'm making in the world, right? I can still smile and get up in the morning, no matter what's going on. So that is the power, you guys, of a strong vision. That is why I just beat that dead horse, right? That's why I can't stop telling you guys about vision, because the power that it has in your life is what is going to keep you going when it just feels like life is going to take you over. It is what makes you get up in the morning. So again, I do have a podcast episode that's really going to walk you through it. It's going to walk you through vision, your mission, and creating your values, right? So I'm going to link that for you guys. Go ahead and listen to that. I want you guys, again, to think about that. What legacy? The last thing I want you guys to think about is I want you to think of your fantasy childcare center. And as you're doing the homework for this, I believe I have a space for this in your workbook, I want you to envision yourself, close your eyes, and walk into your childcare center in your mind. And I want you to envision the perfect center. If you had a magic wand that you could wave, what would your center look like today? What would you do? I want you to tell me, how does it smell? What do you feel? What sounds do you hear? And then in your mind, I want you to walk from room to room. I want you to go through every facet of your center and tell me, what do you see? What interactions are happening? What are on the walls? Just really paint the picture. When I did this exercise, I typed out, and it was a few pages long. I typed it out. And this was years ago. I basically, when I created this vision for my center, I thought I was creating a fantasy. And it was literally just something I was like, wow, that's not ever really good. This isn't real, right? This is just this fantasy that I've created. But again, I always tell myself, whenever I have that thought, like, this isn't real, I can't do it, I always stop myself, like, yeah, right, let's see about that. If I tell myself it's not real, like, we're going to do it now. So it was really interesting because it was about 5 years later, I found what I had written. I was going over my notes on my vision and everything, and I found that fantasy center I had created on paper the first time, right? And I read through it and realized, oh my gosh, this is my center today. 5 years later, it was what I created. That fantasy that when I first created it, I thought would be unachievable is the center that I go to every day now. So don't hold back, you guys. What do you want to see? And you'll be amazed how when you create that along with your vision, you can actually make it come true. It is absolutely amazing. It's what I walk into every time now I go into my center. So that dream, I want you guys to paint such a clear picture. I know some of my clients who've actually drawn it, right? They actually drew it so that it's kind of like walking in there and seeing it. But when you paint the picture, it gives you goals to achieve, to adhere to. One of the things I've added now to my recent life is not only do I paint that picture, but I do it with words. Some of you guys do it visually. I do visual too. That right there is my vision board. It is right there behind us here. So I have to have visuals. I do it in writing. But one of the things I do now is at least once a month, I read it. I go through and I read what I wrote, right? I want to get to the point where, and I got to take baby steps on this one. Once a month, I read it. I'm going to get to the point where I read it once a week, and I'm going to get to the point where I read it every single day. So I can remind myself, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And it just helps you to know when you're planning, what steps do I need to take? What do I need to do in order to get to this? How do I make this come alive? So it starts with your vision, and then you're going to create that roadmap, right? So your vision, and then this fantasy center is going to play into that vision, right? So your vision's always going to be at the top. Well, I should say that is the absolute foundation. Then you're going to create the fantasy. What does it look like once that vision comes true? And then you're going to create, what steps do I need to take in order to make this happen, right? So that is going to help you to create that roadmap. I hope that was helpful for you guys today. Again, if you need a workbook, put it in your email in the comment section so I can get you a workbook. And again, show up every day. It is so important. If you're going to get the most out of this, make sure that you do show up every day so that you can get more out of this and participate as much as you can. I love the participation. It gets lonely on this side of the camera, so I love it when you guys participate with me. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If you're watching the replay, we do go back to check for questions. My assistant does, and then she'll tell me if there's anything I need to address. You can message me with questions also if it's something you don't want everybody to see. I tend to get more message questions than I do comments, which I don't mind at all. So make sure you guys just let me know if there's anything you guys need throughout this workshop, and I hope you guys really find some value in this. Have a wonderful day, everybody.